it's going to hold out for you?
It looks like it's going to hold out.
Well,
we have time to do a podcast.
Well, I mean, that's pretty standard Wisconsin winter, at least in Madison, is it's like 6 inches of snow, and then it turns out to be literally nothing.
Yeah, this one could be real, but it's not happening on the exact aggressive timeline that some people were thinking. So
cool.
I'll take it.
That's less snow. Well, I don't know. My kid would love some more snow right now.
There you go. And they're saying more snow by the lake, so we'll be having a little extra.
Snow party in Milwaukee.
Exactly.
Welcome back, everyone. Corey Singletary here with Citizens Utility Board for another episode of CUB Tracks, and alongside me, excuse me, sorry, my voice.
Is Tom Content.
Yes, Tom Content. Sorry. Getting over a little
I'm
bit
still
of
with the Citizens Utility Board.
Yes.
And I don't have a frog in my throat, at least not at the moment.
No, you do not. So if anyone is wondering why it sounds like I'm auditioning or I'm preparing for an audition as a baritone in some sort of production, that's what's going on there.
Yeah. Little Pavarotti action today.
But a few things today. Changes at the Public Service Commission. An affordability program brought forward for Northwest Wisconsin utility customers. And the big one we wanted to talk about was We Energies and Wisconsin Public Service Corporation renewable programs. Are all renewable programs made equally?
There you go.
We can talk about that a
Rock
little bit.
And
roll. I guess the first one that might be of interest to people, just because most people are probably not aware of it, because it is a little more inside baseball and it's not as interesting as most things, is Governor Evers appointed a new commissioner to the Public Service Commission. And for those who don't know, the Public Service Commission is made up of 3 commissioners. Those are the people who actually make the decisions about your utility service, and they're appointed to 6-year staggered terms. So essentially every 2 years, a new commissioner's term, a commissioner expires and a new commissioner is appointed, or a commissioner is appointed. Someone could be reappointed. And on March 1st of this year, longtime serving Commissioner Ellen Nowak's term expired, and she was replaced by a new appointed by the governor. And I don't know if you wanted to. Sure.
Yeah. No. And Ellen, she was the 4th longest serving commissioner. So she was on the commission in 2 different stints, and that wrapped up on March 1. And so as of March 2, we have Summer Strand, who was appointed by Governor Evers, and who came to the commission from Walbeck Group, which is a construction and engineering company. And prior to that, she's has an attorney. She had been a director of government affairs for Walbeck, but she'd also served in multiple different factions or areas of state government, both at the State Division of Facilities and Department of Administration, and before that in the state Senate, working for Senator Jeff Plaley, who was active on energy and utilities issues in the state Senate earlier on in his career.
Yeah, and I believe she's done some work with the Wisconsin Buildings Commission.
Yeah, she's currently a member of the commission, Building Commission.
So she's got, some Wisconsin governmental type experience at various levels, but doesn't sound like really any utility industry experience, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. We were talking about it internally here with our team, and what makes a good commissioner, and one of the things that came up was what makes a good commissioner is often really just an interest in doing the job and doing the job well, because it's a steep learning curve, and if you're really not in it to win it, then it can be hard for a commissioner. Yeah,
and the learning curve is just for anybody in this field can be steep. So everybody be patient. She's got a learning curve. She's got to get through that. But we look forward to meeting with the new commissioner and her assistant, and also looking forward to, talking to her about our priorities on affordability and other issues.
Mm-hmm. And a couple other little small changes also at the commission. Chair Rebecca Volk was reappointed as the chair by the governor for another 2-year term as the chair. But her chief of staff is new. Kara Penoyer is moving over from the governor's office, from deputy chief of staff in the governor's office, to be Chair Volk's executive assistant is the title, but essentially as executive assistant to the chair, she's the chief of staff of the whole agency. So she's new. We welcome Kara to the commission. And also Elizabeth Wheeler, who's spent some time in Wisconsin in various aspects, most least recently with the Legislative Reference Bureau. But before that, she actually reminded me when I spoke with her earlier this week that she had spent some time with Clean Wisconsin back in the day, which is where the two of us had met years ago. So again, a new face of the commission. But Commissioner Strand, we do not have a executive assistant for her yet, so we don't know who's going to be helping her out as she navigates the always exciting issues that come before the commission. So the next one I can mention, affordability rates. We've talked a lot about utility affordability over the last 6 months, it feels like.
We keep talking about it, probably because the prices were going up, right?
They were. I was actually looking at my Alliant bill yesterday over the last few months and being like, trying to think about how I feel about how much my utility bill came out to be. But on the 27th of February, Xcel Energy filed an application for a customer affordability program, which includes a number of pieces. One of which, the biggest one, is what's commonly referred to as a percent of income payment plan that would cap customers' rates for low-income qualified customers who qualified for LIHEAP in the Wisconsin Home Energy Assistance Program. Folks who are income qualified, it would cap their utility rates at 4% per service type. So electric would be 4%, and electric and natural gas would be 4%. And a few other things, as well as some arrears management programs for helping folks that have gotten behind on their bill and need some help. So that was something new that rolled in the door the last couple of weeks, and we'll definitely be talking about that.
Yeah, good to see that get filed with the commission, and good to see that our collaboration with utilities that we kind of set in writing as part of rate case settlements is bearing fruit, and another more tools to attack any energy burden is better than fewer, and so it's nice to see that this is a utility that has programs already underway for decades in other states along these lines, and it's good to see them bringing that to proposal right here to Wisconsin.
Yeah, it might be a little surprising to some folks, given that our job is often to sort of fight the utilities, but we often do try, whenever possible, to work collaboratively with them. And like you mentioned, we did have that provision in the settlement agreement with Xcel a couple of years ago, and we've been working with them over basically most of 2022 to bring this together. And like you mentioned, they leveraged a lot of the experience that they had in Colorado and Minnesota to really to develop this for Wisconsin and to tailor it for Wisconsin customers. It's something new. We'll be digging into it a little bit more for folks on the podcast. Obviously, we're fairly familiar with what's in it, but we'll be talking a little bit about it more as we learn more about how the commission's going to kind of move forward with it process-wise, so that we can keep folks informed about their opportunities to make their voice heard if they feel like that's a program that is beneficial and maybe could be mirrored in other utilities.
Yeah, looking forward to the commission's consideration of that. Yeah, sometimes we jump up and down and fight the utilities. Sometimes we work right across the table with them. So it just depends on the issue, depends on the day, right?
It does. Those two it really is a driver. Some issues it's hard to come together and hold hands, and it's more knives and stabbing each other. But yeah, we'll keep folks up to date. Figuratively speaking, we don't actually do.
Of course.
Yes, rate cases are not decided by single combat. If they
That's
were,
right.
The outcomes would probably be very different. But like I said, we'll keep folks up to date on that one.
Sword fight.
I did not sign up for that as part of this job. But the big one I know that you wanted to kind of talk about was a proposal that was brought forward by We Energies and Wisconsin Public Service Corporation up in Green Bay. A suite of customer renewable programs, we'll call them, and they They had a request to increase their Solar Now program in We Energies area, as well as to bring it to Wisconsin Public Service as a new program. They wanted to make some changes to an existing dedicated renewable program, and then they wanted to put in something new that they call their renewable pathways. So, I mean, looking at we submitted comments on those on the 1st of this month, but when looking back on that and trying to letting people know about kind of what's going on there, what was the biggest thing out of that proposal that really kind of jumped out to you?
Well, I mean, Solar Now was a kind of a thorn in our side when it was started, because we had issues and strong concerns about whether it should have been approved in the first place. The commission at the time did approve it. That was over 4 years ago now, late 2018, I think. So over 4 years ago, and concern at the time, I think the utility. Not a lot of transparency as to how much this would actually cost the individual customer at the time they were going to be, adding the solar, and it was impossible to shop around because we don't have another construct in Wisconsin where you could actually lease your panels. At least that's still a murky thing in Wisconsin. I don't know whether you can lease your panels, and then we had concerns back then about the sheer cost of the program and what it was projected to cost, and now they're looking to expand it, and the dollar signs are getting bigger and bigger as it expands, both for We Energies and now for Wisconsin Public Service as well.
Yeah. So backing up a little bit, so Solar Now, which is probably the most contentious program in this package. So Solar Now is it's rooftop solar. Right. It's on customers' rooftops, but it's not what most people think. It's where it's solar owned by the utilities, and the utilities essentially lease space, whether it be a rooftop or if there's ground mount property, the land that the customer can provide. It's an optional service but customers can sign up for the program. They essentially lease space for solar to We Energies, and it's a utility owned and operated generation resource. Really no different from the big utility scale solar farms that are being built all across Wisconsin, southeast Wisconsin, western Wisconsin, by MG&E, We Energies, Wisconsin Public Service, Alliant, all those big companies. They have these big, giant, multi-100-acre projects, but it's the same idea, still owned by the utility, but it's just sited on customer property. And so that from our perspective, it's the standard for approval, the bar that the utility should have to clear should really be no different than those big solar farms, right?
Right. And in their vernacular, they're adding rate base. They're just adding in a different spot, multiple spots.
Yes. So being able to demonstrate a need, being able to demonstrate that in order to meet that need, that this is a cost-effective way to do that. It's a good use of customer money.
Exactly.
And I know back in 2018, we had, like you'd mentioned, we had concerns about process, we had concerns about cost, and really not much has changed in those areas.
On this one, that's right.
On this one, it kind of felt like the utilities essentially said, well, you approved this 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago, so let's just do it again. Even though I think the way that I described it was, if you have a power plant that's got 7 units on it, right, and the commission says fine to that, says that sounds like a good idea, the utility can't just add an eighth. Right.
They just come back and say, oh, we'd like to add an eighth and a ninth.
We can't. You can't just add it on just because what came before was approved, right? Just because it looks similar doesn't mean that in the here and now, based off the information that we have, that it's a good deal. And I think the numbers that we came up with was about it would cost customers over the life of this tranche, just this expansion that they're proposing, would cost We Energies and Wisconsin Public Service customers somewhere in the neighborhood of about $200 million over the 30-year lifespan of the program. That's incremental. That's on top of everything else, and is tens of millions of dollars in investment that would cost customers. That would hit customers' bills. And the biggest problem we had was there really wasn't much analysis on that need, on the economics or anything like that.
Right. It's like, well, where's the supporting evidence for this? It's kind of one of the overarching questions. It's like, is this ready to be approved if they haven't really backed up their idea for doing more with more evidence and more rationale.
Yeah. And actually, I was talking with Kara, our general counsel, and the day after, I think it was the day after these comments were due, there were comments due for Xcel Energy on their EV programs. They had a filing, which we can probably talk about another time. They had asked for some permission to modify some of their EV programs, and they were seeking comment on a new public vehicle charging program. We had mentioned that before when it was filed. And the amount of information that Xcel provided for that application to modify what some would see as very minor modifications to the existing programs, as well as the amount of information they provided for something that they're not even asking for actual approval yet. They're just asking for feedback on.
Feedback, right.
Right. The amount of information provided in that application was easily 10 times the amount that was provided by We Energies and Wisconsin Public Service where for those two utilities, they were asking for permission to build tens of millions of dollars of new utility equipment.
Right. Kind of like night and day.
Yeah. It was really night and day, and that's the challenge, right? Like I kind of hinted at the top, is like most people think renewable energy, they think clean energy, that it must all be good, but it's costs vary. Is the utility going to go through and do competitive bidding? How is the utility going to handle these costs? Is this the best way to spend customers' money to meet the utilities needs? And from our perspective, there really wasn't that analysis. Right. So that was a challenging one. Yeah,
and we don't know. This commission, as it's currently constructed, has not actually evaluated the Solar Now because the Solar Now was approved under an entirely different three different commissioners. So all three commissioners are kind of getting their first chance to review this and take a hard look at this.
So that was kind of the lens that we looked at. It's very sort of classic bread and butter, economic analysis, cost effectiveness, demonstrate to us that this is the best way to spend customers' money.
Right.
Right. But that's not the only issue in this case, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, beyond Solar Now, there's the Pathways program, which is the Renewable Energy Pathways program, which we didn't have as significant concerns about.
Yeah, that one is so people may be familiar with. Maybe you say, for example, We Energies customers. They have a renewable program right now where customers can
pay a premium.
They can pay a premium
Yep.
to essentially make their electricity 100% renewable, 100% green.
Energy for Tomorrow is the brand name for that one.
Energy for Tomorrow, and for Wisconsin Public Service, it's WindSource. No, is that WindSource?
Is it WindSource or NatureWise? I should have memorized it.
I think it's NatureWise. I think WindSource is Xcel. But yeah, NatureWise for Wisconsin Public Service, the same idea. You can pay a little premium. You can make your renewable, your energy 100% renewable. You can green your electricity supply, and particularly for businesses, that's an important thing for them. They like to be able to. Some companies, it's very important, whether it be for a corporate sustainability goal or being able to put on their product, this is powered by renewable energy.
Powered by renewable energy. This beer is made from renewable energy, right?
Yeah. So that's important. And so the Renewable Pathways program, our understanding was that there were businesses, particularly in businesses and entities in the Milwaukee area, who were really looking for a simple way to essentially green their energy supply. And so the company developed this, but conceptually it's not any different from the small scale product that you
The
and
residential customers
Yeah.
are applying for or taking advantage of.
Yeah.
Yeah, the city and the county and Milwaukee all have sustainability goals, and as well as the universities, and so there's been talk of collaboratives of how can we green our energy supply and take what we've done on sustainability a step further, and this is something that I know the city of Milwaukee filed comments in support.
Yeah. So that's maybe the flip side, right? So Solar Now, it's a big capital investment program. You got to show us the money. You got to show us how this makes sense. The Renewable Pathways, it's a little bit simpler. We Energies and Wisconsin Public Service are spending all of this money to build solar, to build storage.
Yep.
And they've already gotten approval from the commission to build these resources, right? And every kilowatt hour those solar plants produce essentially mints a renewable credit, and the utility doesn't need all of them, and so they can essentially monetize that renewable value for customers and market that to customers who need that premium, essentially 100% renewable service. And then so they can monetize those renewable attributes for the benefit of everyone. And so that one's a little bit simpler, right? You're not really incurring new costs. You're just finding you're finding ways to optimize the resources you do have and try to make to maximize the benefit for everyone. So that one, at least from our perspective, was a lot more straightforward.
More straightforward. It's that incurring new cost that always makes us, make sure we get out our pencils and abacus and whatever it is, and just say, is this really needed, and is this the right approach? And if you don't show the evidence, how can we show you the money? Is kind of the thing.
Yeah, because I think we actually put in our comments, like going back to Solar Now.
Yeah,
Solar Now could be great for customers, right? It could be amazing. It could be a great way to meet the utilities' needs for generation capacity and for low cost energy. But there's nothing there to show us that is the case. So we don't know. That's the biggest problem, is when the utilities really kind of don't, at least don't show us their work. Maybe they did do the homework, but they didn't show us their work.
Right.
It's hard to really get behind something if we can't be comfortable with the fact that it is a good thing for customers.
And it is a premium compared with the price of whatever they've already those much bigger projects. It is coming at a cost. It's proposed to be at a premium. So it's
Yes.
like another reason why if there is this premium, let's actually have more deliberation of the rationale before we award the premium.
Yeah, just to kind of ballpark the numbers, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of about $1,900 per kilowatt installed for the Solar Now generation. And but whereas the traditional utility scale, like the big farms, the tens or 100-acre farms,
Like the ones by the nuclear plant in Manitowoc County.
Mhm.
It's an example.
those are more, instead of being about like $1,900 per kilowatt, it's more like these days kind of like $1,400, $1,500 per kilowatt. So that premium, just in putting that steel in the ground, to your point, it's like you really gotta show the work, because you can't even rely on the fact, you can't even fall back on saying, oh well, solar made sense for these big solar farms, so it must make sense for these small installations, because it's apples and oranges when it comes to cost.
Exactly. So we hope the commission will take a good hard look at this one.
So there's one extra layer on the Solar Now one that we didn't really weigh in on, because we thought we had enough concerns with just sort of the doing your homework and showing your work part, all right, on the evidence. But I know some folks have been concerned about Solar Now because it's a utility program.
Correct.
To provide rooftop solar in many cases without an upfront capital expenditure. You don't have to pay an installer to come out and buy and install the solar panels. You don't have to buy the solar panels up front, and you get a revenue stream from that. But if, say, a third party like Sunrun or anybody wanted to come in and lease you solar panels so that you didn't have to pay an upfront cost and whatnot, that the utilities opposed, and they argue that the law says that that's illegal, that would make those third parties subject to regulation as a public utility. And so some people look at solar now as the utility, sort of abusing its monopoly to funnel customers into its program instead of allowing reasonable competition in the competitive space for distributed resources.
Yeah, extending the monopoly onto customers' roofs, which heretofore is an area where people can do what they want with their own roofs, right? And you have but it's a different thing if you can only lease your panels from the utility, right? Versus having the option of, am I getting a better deal if I lease the panels from someone else? Mm-hmm. And essentially, on that vein, it's like they're cornering the market on solar leasing before any other players can even have an opportunity to get into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I haven't gone through all of the Solar Now comments yet. I'm sure the commission will be taking it up probably. I would suspect in the next 2 weeks. But I suspect someone might have put some comments in about that as well, at least a mention on the side that says, is this fair?
It was certainly part of the debate when the original program was unveiled, and it was in the press. 2 weeks, you're really not giving Commissioner Strand a lot of time to read up on this one, right?
Things move fast.
Get ready, get set.
Well,
on your mark, get set, vote.
By the time folks are listening to this, it might be 2 weeks. The commission has surprised me on that. Sometimes, we put comments in, and like the very next week they take it up. And sometimes, they ask for comments from the parties, and then it's like a month before they take it.
We don't know the agenda until 24 to 48 hours before the meeting, just like everybody else.
Correct. We don't have any special crystal ball on that one. Any other little final plugs or anything like that for folks?
No, I want to thank everybody for contributing to the Big Share. This week we had the Community Shares of Wisconsin had its one-day fundraising drive, and CUB's been a member of Community Shares for a long time. And Rich Storka and the CUB staff sits on the executive committee of Community Shares. And we thank all the folks who donated. We hit our goal of $6,000. Which was we made it. We got over the top, and then we stopped. So, but that was good. And the whole fundraising drive for 70 plus organizations in one day raised over $600,000. So, pretty impressive stuff.
Yep, that was started, I believe, around 6 p.m. on March 6th, and then ran through midnight on March 7th. So that's an annual thing. So if you didn't get an opportunity to participate this year and support CUB or any other Wisconsin organizations, be on the lookout for that next year. As Tom mentioned, as a member of Community Shares, we always participate in the Big Share, and we always value contributions from our from Wisconsin utility customers or really anyone who's interested in supporting our work on behalf of the little guy in Wisconsin.
Let's make sure that there's a strong voice for the people who don't have a voice, right?
That's the job. I mean, it's literally written into statute now, which is awesome.
Which is a great thing.
Yep. So thank you, Tom, and thanks to everyone for listening. As always, subscribe on your favorite platform. Rate the show if you have an opportunity. It helps us out. And otherwise, we'll catch everyone in the next one.
All right. See you next time.
Thank you.